Welcomed in by Delvin Breaux, now retired Hamilton Tiger Cat. Feels crazy to say that, as last week on the show's Across Canadian Football Perspective Podcast Network, we were talking about who has the best defensive backfield. Well, obviously it's the Ticats because they got Delvin Breaux, they got Tunde Adeleke, Carriel Brooks. I was going across the board and bragging about all these guys. Delvin's a big hit, though, so we welcome you in, Delvin. Thank you for being here with us. But I got to start by asking, why now? Why now? There are so many Ticats fans that are so excited to see you back in black and gold.
Thanks, Moss. You know what, man? Just COVID really, really definitely, really humbled me, right? It really set me down, and spending time with my son was definitely big for me. And then I wanted to try different things in the entrepreneur route, right? Like it started writing my book that I've dropped, Unbroken. And I want to get into cannabis. I want to help the world. I want to help other people. So, I thought it was time for me to make that decision, and it was right. And I'm thankful.
I'll get into some of those businesses and entrepreneurship aspects that you're interested in a second, but I want to ask you first, that 2020 group that we all thought we were going to get to see if COVID didn't hit, if the pandemic didn't hit. It was yourself, it was Simone, it was Dylan Wynn, it was Ted Laron, it was Larry Dean back at middle linebacker for you. I mean, that group was silly, man. Like, we looked at that thing on paper and I was like, I don't know how anybody's going to score over like 12, 15 points a game on you guys. What do you think that group would have been like to play with? Because now you've got Larry Dean going back to Saskatchewan and you retiring. Nobody's going to get to see that unit that we all thought was going to come together in 2020 play together ever again. That's off the table because you've retired. Now, what do you think that group would have been like?
Man, dominant. I know that group would have been dominant. It would have been a dominant group, like you say, 12 to 15 points. I think having the guys being on the same page. We were gonna try to eliminate a lot of people, man. I'm thinking like 7 points a game. That's with that group. And if you look at paper, man, it was just dominant forces from the boundary corner all the way to the field corner. From the right end all the way to the defensive end. So, we had every piece together. But like I said, COVID happened, and we won't get to see it.
Yeah, no doubt. What was it specifically that COVID changed your mind about, or how it affected you? You mentioned your son, and I'm wondering how much that played on you, but also I think we've all felt kind of that pull towards family and that pull towards kind of grounding ourselves a little bit. Was there anything else in this time that COVID has kind of changed your mind about your direction in life?
No, not at all. It just really, I really took the time, and God really just, he's showing me the way, right? He's leading me. And, when you get that niche in your stomach and your heart, you got to go with it. You have to go with it. That's the right signs. And I've been seeing signs, right? And it's just telling me I have to pursue and move forward in my dream, with my dreams and chasing my dreams. And that's to, help and inspire the world. So that's where I'm going. And I love it. It's an easy call.
It was easy for you. See, that it's amazing because when the time is right, and you're at peace with it. There's a lot of people that they don't find that peace. What do you think has allowed you to find that clarity and that understanding as soon as you make the decision?
It's like you said, I'm just sitting with myself, and having God really just talk to me. I'm a big spiritual person. So, just having those talks with God, read my Bible, and, it was just a timing thing, like I said, my body was, you feel a little nicks in the necks from the injuries and stuff like that. But that wasn't really my per se. The money wasn't really the per se. It's just, it's just timing, right? When and I'm a big believer in that.
Your combination of size, speed, competitiveness, aggression. I mean, it was always special to watch, Delvin. Like, it was a pleasure. I remember watching you when you were with your first stint with the Ticats and thinking, that doesn't make sense that he's here. I mean, that guy should be in the National Football League. And sure enough, you do go back and you're with the Saints for a couple of years, 16, 17. And then when I ended up finding out that you signed back in Hamilton, I was mind blown because I'm thinking, okay, I know how much of a groundbreaking player this is, but I also understand that he's better than this, but he obviously appreciates this opportunity. What was it about the CFL now that you've retired that you're looking back on and saying, well, that meant this to my career? Because the CFL, for you to come back after being where you had been and the type of player that I know you are, whether you're north or south of the border, that was incredible to me to see you come back to Hamilton.
It was a no-brainer. When they took me in back in 2013, and they just showed me love from the beginning. And I'm a loyal person, right? If you be loyal to me or show loyalty to me, I'm gonna show loyalty back. So I didn't care what other price other teams had. I wasn't interested. I didn't care. I made it easy. I want to be in Hamilton. I told my agent I want to be in Hamilton. I would take whatever money they're giving me because it was like a first love at love at first sight, with Hamilton. And I just couldn't see myself in no other color but black and gold.
Well, two questions off of that. The first one is, what other offers did you get? Because I imagine somebody would have thrown stupid money at you. Because if you're on the free market and your agent says, hey, he's thinking about coming back to the CFL, but he's probably going to go to the CFL, I imagine like a Montreal or a Calgary, maybe an Edmonton, somebody like that would have just been like, listen, here's the best we can do. And you had to look that from your agent and go, nah, I'm good.
Yeah. We were talking, I ain't gonna lie to you, we were talking to Toronto and Edmonton in the beginning, but I told them I didn't really want to hear from them. Like I was more so set on just getting back in the black and gold. How fast could I get back in the black and gold to, be a dominant force and to just get back with the organization, man. I love Caretaker Bob. He's awesome. I love the organization, Scott Mitchell. I love everybody there. So it just wouldn't have felt right being in another color. And I think I made the best decision.
Well, you own the black and gold very well for a long time, as Delvin Breaux joins me here. And I'll say this as well. The second follow-up I had off of that, you said it was love at first sight. How much of that love at first sight had to do with Orlando Steinauer? Because he was a big part of your time in Hamilton at all levels. And the quote, I got to pull it up for you here, Delvin, because I saw this quote from him the other day when your retirement announcement came out. And it says, where is it here? Head coach of the Hamilton Tiger Cats, he said, it's extremely rare when you find a DB that possesses size, strength, speed, aggressiveness, competitiveness, and confidence. Offenses change the way they game plan, knowing that number 24 was manning the boundary. And he said, we wish Delvin all the best, and we thank you for everything you gave to the Tiger Cats organization. With Coach O, it seems like he obviously appreciates all of the tangibles that you brought to the table, your competitiveness and the way that you played the position. He understands how meaningful what you do is to a defense in the grand scheme of things. But it always comes back to the people. And that's the thing that I always felt like you and him connected on just from being around practices, whether he's running across the field and bumping shoulders with you after a great play, or he's running through the tunnel with you, smacking you on the ass. I mean, there's always something there where it was these little things that Coach O and you just seemed to be on the same level always.
You know what? That's just a test to our communication, and that's just a test to our connection, right, through God, right. Man, Coach O definitely played a big part in my life, and like I said, everything I post, some things I post, it's always reflection of him and things he say, like follow through, like on every piece of my notebook, it has follow through, and that's come from Coach O, right. That's something that's always gonna stick with me, because if you believe in something and you say you're going to do something, do it, follow through with it. And man, Coach O has definitely been, like a father figure to me. Whenever I had problems, he was the first person I would go to or talk to about my problems and my situation. And he would help me figure out the situation, whether it's I needed to go home or do whatever, whatever the situation was, he was there for me. And like I said, I'm so much appreciative of Coach O, man. Like, man, I'm thankful, from him even just being my DB coach, then turned into my head coach. I never thought I would see that day. But when he became the head coach, it was a no-brainer. It was an easy call. Like, it was awesome, man. And like I said, I'm just thankful for Coach O, for real, man.
How much influence did he have over the defense from the time as a positional coach to a defensive coordinator to as a head coach? Because I think a lot of people think, Delvin, that you become a head coach and you're the overseer of things and you don't have hands-on. And some people say, well, good for them. They've been able to learn how to delineate all these tasks and give responsibilities to others. And other people say, no, I want my head coach to be the expert at what he does. Him working alongside, obviously, Mark Washington. I mean, Mark knows his stuff. Like, Mark is one of the best guys out there that understands the CFL game, but Orlando's right there as well. Them working together, I always felt like was such an interesting push-pull and a kind of coming together of minds that I always wondered how much credit we as the media were supposed to be giving to either of the individuals, because they both had such a big part to play in what you guys were doing defensively.
Yeah, man, Coach O basically was he was around, he'd be in and out of all the meetings, it's crazy because you got to watch. He's watching everything. He's paying attention to everything. Whether you know, if he's not watching your drill, he gonna watch it on film. And he's gonna come back and tell you about it, right? So that's something that's was big for us, was holding each other accountable, and that's something he held within the whole locker room. Man, not just the locker room, the whole organization. When he became head coach, he just held everybody accountable, and everybody held themselves accountable, and it was easy, right? So I love when he used to come in and just say, "Hey, bro, come on now, we got to get your hands on. Like, get hands on and come through. We need your jail." I'm like, man, all right, coach, bet. But it's crazy because he wouldn't be in the start of the meeting, but he would come in and you'll hear that echo, and it's just like, man, he's paying attention. He's there. So I love it, man. He's awesome.
I've always been amazed by his ability to, I mean, first of all, your impression is perfect, but his ability to step into a drill in training camp with the same intensity that he steps into a drill in Grey Cup week, or step into a meeting room that has to do with special teams as much as he steps into a room that has to do with the defensive backfield. I mean, he felt like he had this all-encompassing view, which, I mean, when you say it was a no-brainer that he was the head coach and that it makes a lot of sense, in hindsight, yeah, but I mean, looking back, more guys like that should be given the opportunity, should they not? And I'm not just talking about him being a black head coach. I'm saying a guy who understands the game at every single level, who understands what it's all about, because it's very obvious now watching him coach, that guy was born to be a head coach.
Yes, indeed. It's leadership. That's all I'm gonna say. Leadership. His leadership shows. He ain't about, coach ain't about a lot of talking. He's just about a lot of action, and that's something he brought into the locker room with the guys. He's just, hey, look, if we're gonna talk about it, we're gonna be about it. We're gonna back up whatever we have, right? And his leadership shows, and that's what you can see, man. Like I say, we went 15-3, as his first year head coach, man. Like that's amazing, man. And yes, a lot of other coaches could have gotten a head coaching job, but he was the one who got it, and man, he's making the best of it, right? And I love it, man. I just want to continue to see him prosper. I can't wait to see what they do this year coming up, if they have a season. And man, that's my coach there.
You have obviously been on CFLPA emails, all the rest. What is your sense for the season coming up?
I haven't really been paying attention, man. I've been focusing on my son. I've been letting, those guys handle that. Sally and them, I let those guys handle that. Brian and those guys, and they'll reach out to me, and they're asking me for inputs and everything. But I hope the season happens, because I want to see football. I want to see those guys out there doing what they love. The guys have passion. Guys been doing this since they were young. So to have that taken away, I know the exact feeling of having football taken away. So I just want to see those guys get out there and play, man, and have fun and fly around.
A couple of rapid fire ones that I got for you here, Delvin. Who is the best boundary halfback that you've ever played with in the Canadian Football League?
I don't have a best. I mean, because all the guys I played with were amazing, man. All of them was great, man. So I can't pick one. All of them were good.
Okay, the next one I got for you. Who's your favorite receiver to go up against in terms of competition level, where it was give and take, back and forth? You get me, I get you, and it's just fun because you're right in the heat of it every time with this guy.
Man, everybody, all of them, bro, because every receiver talked. Every receiver came out there.
Talk to you? Wait, Delvin, why is anybody talking to you?
Bro, because they want to get on my good side, I guess. I don't know, man. I don't know, Mars. Everybody was trying to talk, and but it was every receiver, man. I didn't have a favorite. I enjoyed going against everybody who lined up out there because they thought they were, that's who the coach put out there, and they thought that was the best, and I just had to handle it.
Interesting. And what was the best team with the Tiger Cats that you played on in your time in the CFL? If you had to landmark a year.
Man. Every last one of them, man. I can't pick one. I can't, because I went to the Grey Cup, 3 of the 5 years I played, 3 to 6 years. So yeah. Every one of them was good.
What was the Grey Cup appearance that you wish would have turned out a little bit better? Because I look at it and I know that it's tough because unfortunately the Ticats have gone through this dry streak, but you were, like you say, you were on seriously a bunch of sensational Ticats teams. You guys earned your right to go to the Grey Cup every single time. You battled your way through adversity, through injuries, through ups and downs. And you, like you say, you've been through multiple coaching changes and all the rest. And I look at some of these teams and I know it's difficult to value one against another, but I do think like that 2019 team that you mentioned with 15-3, and unfortunately, your final game in the CFL is a loss in the Grey Cup, but by no fault of your own, you guys got after it every single week in 2019. And that just felt like a different animal to me than some of the teams I'd seen that you'd played on.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That was definitely a golden team, right? That was the golden team. I just knew I was going to win, my Grey Cup and finally get myself a ring and, go and enjoy it. But, that's how things work, right? So just got to take it with a grain of salt. But one Grey Cup that the 2014 year, man, when we lost to Calgary, we had it, right? We had it. It was over it was a crazy play that happened. We had got a penalty, I believe. And it turned, we had to turn the ball back over to Calgary and we ended up losing, man. But when Speedy B took the punt return all the way back to the house, man, we had about 10 seconds of glory, of knowing what it felt like to be the champion. Then for it to get taken away, it was crazy, man. So I would say that one, man, because I knew we was like that was in the bag. That was in the bag, So
yeah, absolutely. And it's crazy thinking about that 2014 year and the way that game ends, because I've been on teams that have lost championships when I was playing in university, and it's the moments afterwards that stick with you, right? It's not necessarily the shock of the finding out. It's when you're on the bus afterwards or when you get back to the hotel and you just remember how everybody's face looks. Tell me what that experience was like, being in the moments after you hit 0-0-0 on the score clock and you're walking back into the tunnel, back into the locker room. Because I imagine that room in 2014 would have felt unlike much else that you've been in football.
Yeah, it was quiet, right? It was just quiet. Nobody was really saying nothing. Nobody really wanted to talk. Even as anybody in any professional, right? When you lose a big game, you ain't too much to talk about because it's done, right? But for me, you know what? And I don't want to sound crazy, but man, you got to think I'm humble. I have a different story than a lot of people, man. So I always celebrated. I always, no matter win or loss, man, I always was happy because I wasn't supposed to be here, man. I broke my neck. I wasn't supposed to be back playing. So whether I won or lost, I always celebrated, man. I always had Michelob Ultra, and I would drink and just thank God, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be in this situation, man. So the fact that I was able to enjoy those Grey Cup moments, man, it was beautiful. It was awesome, man.
I'll get to your journey in a second, but you mentioned Michelob. So now I need a top 3 ranking here on beers from Delvin Breaux, because you mentioned Michelob Ultra was the first one that came. What the hell, Delvin? What are the other two?
Hey, man. Hey, man. I'm a big Michelob Ultra guy. I like Shock Top or Blue Moon. So
yeah.
I know. I think out there in Canada, it's a red. It's a what is it
Rickards?
out there? Rickards,
yeah.
Rickards White, man, Rickards White.
That was crazy because I watched a documentary called Beer Wars, I think when I was in university, and it was all about kind of like big beer versus small beer brands and all the rest. And I had always, when I had gone with my dad to baseball games, we had been to Cleveland, we had been to Pittsburgh, and we had gone to Fenway and a couple other places around in the Northeast. And I remember every time I'd go with them, I would always get a Blue Moon. And I was like, this is the best beer. This thing's incredible. And then I watched this documentary on Beer Wars, and I'm like, oh, I wonder who makes Blue Moon. And I look it up, and on Wikipedia, it's like, yeah, it's this corporation who owns this corporation. And oh, by the way, in Canada, Blue Moon is just labeled as Rickards White. I was like, what? Because I've been drinking Rickards White in Canada. I'm like, this is awful. I hate this beer. But then I go down to a baseball game, and I don't know if it's the fan experience of sitting in the stands at a baseball game, but I'm like, Blue Moon's the best beer on this entire planet. And you realize that those two things are actually the exact same, labeled inside different things. That was shocking to me.
Yes, when I first found it, I was like, man, I said, this tastes like a Blue Moon. Just give me an orange. People was like, what? I said, just give me an orange. I'm like, wow. So yeah, it's the same thing, man. I love it. I enjoy it. So and my third one would be if I would have to, it would be Bud Light. That's my mom's favorite. My mom loved Bud Light, so I would have to go with Bud Light.
There you go. Well, I look forward to at some point when you're in Canada, we can have a Rickards White. And at some point, if I see you in the States, we can have Blue Moon. That's the way it goes. But I'm looking forward to finding out what's next for you here next up, Delvin, because you did mention your book. And I know that this is a big part of what you are moving into going forward, because you still, let's be real, you still have so much playing ability in you, despite the nicks and the bumps. You are a freak. You are somebody who is able to take more than the average defensive back, give out more than the average defensive back. And so you could keep playing if you wanted to, but you've made this decision to move on. And now you get to take on these new challenges. One of them is telling your story. And I know that this is, for obvious reasons, a huge part of your life story and of your journey and of the way, as you mentioned, after that 2014 Grey Cup loss, your mentality about how you approached life. Tell people what you're working on and tell them about how this is all going to be available, because I know that this is something I've seen your social media that you care dearly about, as you should.
Absolutely. I started first semester. I started my brand. Me and my son started our brand on his third birthday. Broauxshow.com. You can go if y'all want to go support, buy some merch. I dropped my autobiography, Unbroken. It's been getting some great reviews, crazy reviews. So make sure y'all go check that out. It's Unbroken, UNBREAUXKEN, and it's on Amazon. Y'all can go check that out. And it's basically just talks about childhood trauma, me overcoming suicide attempts. It also talks about me breaking my neck, my C4, C5, C6 vertebrae in high school, to never playing football in college, to overcoming trying to commit suicide in college. It was crazy. To not playing football for 6 years, 7 years, to finally getting cleared in 2011, 12, to making it all the way to the NFL and becoming the highest paid CFL defensive back. So it's crazy. And it also talks about my journey with the NFL and how the misdiagnosement, and everything went with the Saints and how my time ended there. So it's awesome, man. And it's something I just want, a lot of people to take away from this is just perseverance. Adversity is going to hit, overcome that. It's going to be days where it's going to be bad days, it's going to be good days, but just remember, man, not dead, can't quit. They have a lot of people out here who are going through much worse things than you. So you have to make your opportunities count whenever you get them. So basically, that's just what I want you to get out from my story. So I've been doing that. Also, I'm in the cannabis industry. It's going well with that. I actually have some things that's coming out soon with line products, having my own line products. So y'all stay tuned for that. It's going to be pretty dope. And I'm doing public speaking. I'm reaching out to producers and everything to tell my story. Because I think a lot of people need to hear it, especially what's going on right now in the world. I think it'll definitely help motivate and inspire people to get up and get active. Hey, man, Delvin Breaux broke his neck to being in NFL. I can do it. If he can do it, I can do it. And I just want that motivation spread around the world to millions and billions of people so they can know that, like, man, it's real. Adversity is real, and I can get through it too.
Yeah, and hearing your positivity and knowing how it always rubbed off on people inside of the Ticats locker room, it takes me back to another Coach O staple, which was you don't have to, you get to, right? I mean, that idea of getting that opportunity, I mean, that stuck with me, and I was just a dude watching practice. Like he's yelling that all the time, and I go home and I'm like, man, I don't want to walk the dogs. And then I'm like, you know what? It's 10 p.m. I don't have to, but I get to. I get to walk the dog. I like the dogs. The dogs are fun. I love these. And it's kind of that way of thinking that obviously has kind of been around you ever since you've gone through these hardships. But I have to admit, Delvin, that without reading Unbroken as of yet, I've always known you to be this incredibly positive person. But to hear you talk about suicide attempts and the serious nature of what you went through, high school, university, otherwise, what was the lowest point? I have to ask you, because that's not something that I associate with you. And I'm wondering the bottom point that you came from to where people know you today as the positive influence on so many lives.
I want to say back in 2009 and back in 2010, I want to say when I was going through my first attempt, I was taking pills, a lot of pills. And that's when I was going through, when I was at my worst, right? I just got told no by 3 LSU doctors, that I can't play football. Football is out of the question for me. Man, I just went to drinking and I, went to taking pills and, for like a week or two, it was a while. And I was just hoping I never wake up. And that I was just at my deepest point there. And if you read my book, you can find out more of details, but it gets deeper, man. And I just had to find God. I had great support. I had my ex-wife, or she's my ex-wife now, but then, she was there. She helped me get out of the funk I was in, and, playing for football, flag football with friends, helped me stay out of the funk. So I want to say that's when I was at my lowest, man. And I'm thankful that God had my ex-wife in my life at the time, because if she wasn't there, I definitely would be gone.
what do you think you would have become, player, person, otherwise, without the hardships that you went through? Because I don't want to put words in your mouth here, but it sounds like the things that you've gone through have changed you, and in a way changed you for the better, albeit you would never want to go through those things. But it's almost a blessing in disguise in the long view of it gave you this perspective to help shape the rest of your life.
Uh, you know what, man? You know, I just thank God, man. I just pray to God each and every day for giving me, giving me this life, giving me this life, because he's putting me through it, and he's also getting me through it. I've gotten through a lot of stuff, and I'm thankful. I'm thankful for my life, because I wouldn't be me without it, and I wouldn't be able to inspire and motivate other people without my story, and it happening to me. So it's something I never want to go through, and I don't want other people to go through what I went through. That's why I'm able to share it. That's why I want to give other people that courage and that confidence to come out and talk. Man, listen to me. I'm going through mental depression. I'm going through mental, lapses. I need help. It's okay to ask for help. You're not weak. You're not weak, man. And I want people to see that. Just because you have mental problems, whatever, anxiety, PTSD, you're not weak. That don't mean you're weak. I mean, we just have problems. We have to work on that. That's something we have to work on. And that's adversity, right? You have to overcome adversity. So that's just what I want, man. And I want people to see that it's a positive outlook on life, have a positive outlook on life, and just enjoy it.
What was the most important part, do you believe, Delvin, in your journey upwards, rising from that lowest point and through all of that pain that you went through?
Oh man, you know what? I want to say my son, just the moment when my son was born. But before then, I just want to say, I don't really have, I can't, I don't know, man. It was a lot of moments, right? Because, like I said, I thank my ex-wife, and I'm gonna keep thanking her, because she definitely played a big part. And then just my support, who I had around me, they definitely helped me see the light during that time. And I'm thankful for my brother Pee Wee, my brother Kid and them for helping me see the light. And I have a lot of people I'm thankful for, and to seeing that moment of getting out of that dark space. So I can't pinpoint a single moment, man. It's just been a lot of moments, a lot of great people and God's people. So
you mentioned the cannabis industry as well. I got to ask you about this, because your own line coming out is very exciting, I'm sure. I'm wondering, what are the legalities of the state of Louisiana? Do you have to go through processing? Do you have your own space set up? And what is this? Because there's a lot of stuff that goes into getting an operation like that off the ground and doing it the correct way.
Yeah, so what I'm doing is I'm taking it in a different approach, right? Just because of the legalities down here in Louisiana, right? You can't, and THC is not legal, none of that's legal, but you have medical marijuana, right?
Yep.
Where you can go get see a doctor, you get your medical stuff, but it's only gummies, tinctures, which is like the vape. And you also have the vapes. You have the tinctures, vapes, and gummies right now before the flower actually becomes, and you also have CBD. So what I'm doing is I'm taking an approach of an educational side, right? I know I'm not supposed to say this, but I'm actually working with a company in Denver. A couple good friends of mine from LSU, and I'm going in on the educational side, the marketing side. I want to go in and educate people about cannabis, and erase that stigma, that's in the back of our heads, that cannabis is bad. Cannabis actually has great benefits. They have great things, products and stuff coming out with new CBGs, and CBN flowers and stuff like that. So I'm into that type of stuff. I love the grow process. I love everything. And it's just something that's my next step, right? I want to help other people. I want to let other people know about the health benefits. To help with seizures, epilepsy, cancer, insomnia, pain, everything. It helps with everything. And I want more people to understand a plant, and how it works and how it can help your body.
I think there's two things that jump out to me when I hear you talk about that, Delvin, that is amazing, which is, the first is, there's two parts of that discussion, which is the way it's perceived by government and legalities, and the way it's perceived by people that understand the actual benefits of it. The second part of it is just the amount of disparity between what is legal and where, right? And the idea that you're working with people in Colorado and trying to get things off the ground, but doing it from an educational perspective. And I look at it as, if you believe in it and you've seen the benefits, you understand the benefits, then yeah, you feel like it is your right to be able to present people the facts and the honest truth on this. I remember all the way back to, quarterback Jim McMahon of the Bears way back, and he was saying, like, listen, man, like, this stuff is life changing, and it's for the better. And at that point, he was saying pain management for athletes in the NFL and otherwise. But it's also people like obviously Ricky Williams is a big proponent of all of this, but not just because it's, well, everybody thought, well, Ricky Williams just wants to get high and he doesn't want to do anything else with his life, and that's why he decides to walk away from the NFL. It's like, no, he understands that there's something bigger here, and you obviously understand that bigger landscape that Ricky Williams was seeing.
Yes, and that's why I'm so sorry. I even went to Twitter and was like, man, Ricky Williams, I apologize, because that's just a stigma. It's around the world. It's bad. So what are you doing smoking that, man? Right? Like, it's like, man, he's a bad person. Like, that's bad. But now that I understand, I'm like, man, I apologize, Ricky, wherever you at. If you can open your heart, open your mind, and sincerely accept my apology, because, man, you were doing something that was for everybody, man. It was for the players' benefits. It was for, elders, kids, right? They have pets, man. You have pets. Stuff for CBD pets, man. So he was doing something that we didn't see, that our mind was so close to it. And I appreciate Ricky Williams for what he's done, what he's doing, and I hope I can meet him one day, man. Look, I'm sorry, but can I please show this?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Let's go. Little Breaux House tour right now. Let's go.
Yeah, sorry, man. I actually just got this.
Oh, wow.
I got this bad boy at a card place I went to the other day, man. Downtown Sports Card in Homer, Louisiana. Downtown Sports Card. They gifted me this because I'm a big Ricky Williams fan and I'm a cannabis, advocate. So they gifted me with that, man, and they also gifted me with this. Sorry, man. And
no, it's okay. I like this. This is the tour. Oh yeah, little bobblehead.
The bobblehead, dog, man. How many people have one of these, man? You know what I'm saying? So it's freaking phenomenal, man. And I'm thankful to Mr. Ray and them who gave me that, man. And like I said, Ricky Williams, I hope I can meet you, man. Oh man, it'd be an honor.
He's it's amazing listening to Ricky Williams still talk about what he has going on today, because whether it is talking about yoga or about spirituality, about the way that the universe is shit. I mean, he is an open-minded guy. And I get the sense that that's where you are headed, Delvin, where it's like, I want to look at things and not just be, well, this is the way it's supposed to be, so that's the way that it is. You actually want to look at things and question them and think about them and talk about them. And I feel like that's something that's enlightening that a lot of other people wish that they could do, but they just kind of find it difficult to get to that point in their life where they're willing to open their mind to some of these different perspectives.
Man, and what's crazy is I want to say just going to LSU, right? I grew up, I went to a predominantly all black, high school. Everything was, black, African American, everything. And when I got to LSU, I'm seeing all these different races, diversities. And I'm like, bro, I'm so sheltered. I'm like, man, I ain't never see you in class. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't never see, different races in my class. And it just made me open up. It made me adapt. I had to open up into society and realize that, man, hold on, you can't be I was sheltered my whole life. I was so bottled in, that, man, life is really beautiful whenever you just open up and just take it for what it is. Okay, this life, this is it, this nature, this is how this goes. Once you understand that, and like Ricky said, the universe is definitely moving. The way it's moving, it moves through you. You are the wave. So when I tell a lot of people, about that, they be like, wait, what? How? What you mean? Like, you are your fun. You have to make yourself happy. You have to love yourself. You have to put yourself on that high pedestal, and to understand nature's beauty, and to understand how the universe works, right? You have to keep God in your corner, and you just have to live your life. Because when it rains outside, to me, it's not rain, it's beautiful. I see beauty, man. I'm on a whole different level of thinking now, right? But it's an all thought process. And like I said, God just got me to this point. So it's cool.
Yeah, it's a strong perspective for sure. And I want to ask you as well about that with going to a school that all of a sudden you're around a bunch of white folks in there. It feels different. You have to adjust. That's amazing for me to hear, because I know growing up in Kingston, Ontario, Canada, I go to a school that has like 90% white people, right, Delvin? And I go to a basketball tournament in downtown Toronto where I'm playing at Jane and Finch, or I'm playing against Emory High School, or I'm playing against Birchmont Parker, and I'm going against these high schools in inner city Toronto. And all of a sudden we're going into these gyms where we're the only white kids. Like, I remember one time, and you'll actually probably get a kick out of this. I played high school basketball at a pretty high level. We walk into a gym in downtown Toronto, and it's this tournament that we had never been to before. And our coach had put us in the tournament because he's like, listen, it's going to toughen you up, all the rest. I walk into the gym, the whole gym goes quiet because 12 white dudes just walked in with a white coach. And we walked into the gym, and I'm not even kidding, a game was going on. The game keeps going, but the whole gym gets quiet because it wasn't even class out of school yet. It was like 1 PM on a Friday, and everybody looks down and they see us standing at the end of the gym, and we're like, oh shit. Are we the ones they're looking at? We're like looking around going like, we are the reason that everybody is just stopped. And then I heard somebody really quietly under their breath go, room just got brighter.
Yeah.
And I remember we died laughing. We got to the locker room. We're like, yeah, we are not in the environment that we are used to here. But for you, it's amazing to hear you say that, yeah, I had to evolve. I had to find different ways to talk to people, to communicate, to understand different people coming from different backgrounds. And the fact that you think you've been sheltered, because that's the exact same feeling that I had going into that basketball gym when I was in grade 12.
Absolutely, man. And that's what I want. I want more people to understand that. That's what I say. My happiness is going to rub off on a lot of people because be happy with a lot of people. Be happy with somebody that don't look like you. That's how love the next person. Don't hate love the next person. That's where it's at. That's where you get that unified glory at, when you love the next person, help the next person out, be there for the next person, whether you're struggling or not. Still have a helping hand. If you can lend a hand out, lend it, because God is watching. I promise you, he's watching. And that's the message I want to leave on that note.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Delvin, I've taken enough of your time, man. I appreciate all the perspective. You're a great conversation. You always have been. I always appreciated being able to see in the room, win, loss, draw, whatever. It was always great to catch up with you. And I hope that you're not a stranger for long. I hope we get to see you up in Hamilton, watching the game and hanging out on the sidelines pretty soon. Okay.
Man, absolutely, man. Thank you, Marsh.